What up, D-League? Welcome to week number 8. What a week it's been. Sean breaks the record for the least points scored in the entire league's history. I finally broke out of my losing slump, and now we're 1 week away from whenever I beat Dan and break his winning streak. Also, you may have heard there was a trade that went down this week. Let's take a look now at the picks.
When it is raining, it is because he's thinking about something sad. He once punched a magician. That's right, you heard me. His blood smells like cologne. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always play fantasy football, but when I do, I want it to be D-League 2012. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Well, as you can see, I got back to my winning ways at 3-2. I picked against myself, and that was the strategy I planned all along. Worked like a charm. Unfortunately, it worked against Adam, though. Basically, what it boils down to is, Adam, you're a terrible husband, and you're also a terrible friend for letting me down. Well, we all know how much Jamie loves polls. Let's take a look at him.
I'm a man.
Let's take a look at our first dickhead poll with our league champion. The first poll is about Sean's pathetic effort this week. It seems that most people agree that Sean's lost his will to field a competitive team. He's also lost the desire to make trades. The result? Record-breaking performances for the league's lowest points scored ever. Our next poll takes a look at who had the worst trade, Nate or the Raiders. This may be the only thing that Nate's won by a landslide victory. I do like how the two guilty parties are the only ones who voted the other way, though. And our last poll takes a look at how bad I'm going to rip Nate in this week's preview. Well, let's find out. This week we had a menage trade go down. Nate brokered a three-way deal with Travis and Dan in which he acquired none of the good players. Dan and Travis can be seen here making out like bandits over the acquired Fred Jackson and Antonio Gates. I'm not even going to review your guys' end of the trade. You two fucks know what you did. And Nate, as for you, what the fuck are you doing? You are the worst team in the entire league. There is only one direction to go. You cannot go making the worst team in the league worse. I'm going to put up a scary graphic now to emphasize my point. On the left, you see players that you have traded away. Guys like Vincent Jackson, Antonio Gates, Mike Wallace, Fred Jackson. On the right, you see players that you've traded for. Guys like Roy Williams, Earl Bennett, Aurelius Ben, Lance Moore. The net result is the team that you have right now and a future second-round pick. That better be one hell of a fucking second-round pick. It's not all bad, though. I do second Jamie's sentiment about you. I would love to sit down and have a beer with you. You've got to be better at drinking than you are at this. Let's take a look now at the rapist of the week. For our first time ever, we have two rapists of the week this week. You guessed it, Travis and Dan. You both should be ashamed of yourselves. Let's take a look now at our biggest loser.
Bitch, I'm about to ball this.
I have an IQ of 48. And I'm what some people call mentally retarded.
He was a retard.
I'm a driver. I'm a winner. Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
Only reason I'm crying is because of the adrenaline.
Without question, our biggest loser of the week this week is Sean. Sean lost to a guy who only scored 66 points last week. He did this by scoring a league-low 42.34 points. I don't even know what else can be said about that. Let's take a look at our previews. Alright, first up we got Mind Grapes taking on Team Disenfranchised. Mama, here comes that man again. Cupcake fistfuckers coming to town this week to try and piss on my parade. Yahoo has this one as a tight one. Rivers and Vincent Jackson are heading to Kansas City. Hopefully it's not like last time. They'll be taking on Romo and DeMarco Murray. Hopefully it's not like last week. My preference would be for all of Romo's touchdowns to go to Miles Austin. At running back, I'm starting Moreno this week, so that's pretty sweet. Hopefully McCoy can help prop his limp ass up. This week we get to find out if DeMarco Murray's for real or not. He's going to be taking on a real defense this week. Well, kind of. He's going to be taking on the Eagles. One way or another, we should find out, though, if DeMarco Murray's for real or not. If so, that's going to end up being pretty bad for me. Frank Gore should also have a pretty good day to help complement James. And Pittsburgh loves to give up yards to tight ends, so Hernandez could be in for a good day as well. At least certainly better than Gresham. I think all in all, this is actually going to be a pretty tight game. I think what it boils down to is finding out whether or not Murray's for real, and finding out if the Chargers can play like they should against the Chiefs. Unfortunately, in the end, I do think that James is going to end up taking this win. It's just not my year. Next up, we have Rainbow Warriors taking on Black C-3PO. Look at these two just limping in off of losses, trying to duke it out in the mud that is 3-4 in this league. Cam Newton's taking on Alex Smith. Yeah, you heard that right. It just gets uglier from there. Adams' wide receiver lineup is so bad that as of 9 p.m. on Saturday, he still hadn't even put in a third wide receiver. He'd rather just leave it empty and risk not going negative in points. Dave's crew's not looking so hot either. He's bringing Manningham and Little to help out Nix this week, so basically Nix just has to do it all himself. Jackie Battle's back to riding Pine in favor of Law Firm this week. He and Bradshaw are going to be taking on Sproles and MJD. Sproles is actually poised probably for a breakout this week, which is good because MJD is coming off a shameful performance last week. Long story short, Dave beats the black off of C-3PO. Next up we have Blackbeard's Delight taking on KC Reunited. Oh hey, another battle of 3-4 in this league. Can Sean go from an embarrassing performance to embarrassing a guy who deserves it? Well, he does love to get beat by Sean. This week Rapey's taking on Tom Brady, not only in fantasy but also in real life. While the Patriots will probably win that game, Big Ben's going to have probably a big day through the air against that terrible passing defense. Sean's going to pray that they do it on the ground though. Trav's starting not one but two Raven wideouts this week, so he's hoping for a big day out of Joe Flacco. Sean's starting Deion Branch, which means he's delusional about Tom Brady's decision-making abilities in the passing game. Can Mendenhall and Rice combine for more than 5 points this week? Sean better hope so. This week he's going to be taking on the newly acquired Fred Jackson and some random black guy from Washington. And then we get to the one-man show that's Jimmy Graham. Overall, Trav's done a better job than I give him credit for. He's put together a team that does actually have the potential to make a run. He just better hope that they actually do it this year, because he's got slim pickings next year in the draft. As much as it pains me to pick Trav, I just don't think Sean has the firepower to come back from a terrible loss last week to just overwhelm Travis this week. Alright, next up we have multiple scoregasms taking on Fly Eagles Fly. A couple of real dipshits battling it out here. For Jamie, I wonder if it'll be tough to swallow that if his team beats the living crap out of Dallas, that may also mean that Colin beat the living crap out of him. Luckily, Drew Brees takes on St. Louis this week, so that certainly helps. I just realized that Jamie is starting Jerome Simpson at wideout this week. I actually threw up in my mouth a little bit. He's also starting Marshall, who's playing for just an awful offense right now. He's also got Macklin in there as a QB equalizer for Colin. That squad's going to be taking out Steve Smith, Brandon Lloyd, and Deshaun Jackson. It's scary to me to actually say that Colin has an edge in the wide receiver category against Jamie, but this week he does. Jamie takes that shit right back though at running back. AP and AF, the dynamic duo, is taking on Matthews and Jackson this week. Fred Jackson takes on Owen Daniels and rounds out what could be an upset week for Jamie. I'm actually going to go out on the limb this week and pick Colin to take out Jamie this week. I believe in you, Opie. And finally, we got the Rare Treats taking on Mavericks. If Dan gets beat by his farm team, is it actually considered losing? I didn't have it in me to go look and see if Aaron Rodgers is actually on a bye this week or if Dan just told him to bench him. Everybody make sure they get their jokes in on Sean while they can, because I got a feeling come Monday we're going to have a new record holder for lowest points scored in the league. Dan's got a couple people on the bye, but not enough to really matter. He's got a full complement at wide receiver, and he's also got Gates. Nate's only got 2 people projected in double digits. One of them is his kicker, and the other one's Andy Dalton. Bottom line, Dan keeps on trucking, and next week I make him pay for his sins.
Wrap it up. Wrap that shit up, dude.
Well, boys, that's going to do it for us today. Tune in next week at the same fat time, same fat channel.